Right, and now this morning we are getting some insight here in San Diego on our homeless crisis, something that certainly impacts so many of us, something we all see around town.
Time for us to check in with San Diego Police Chief David Nisleit. Thanks for coming in here, Chief. We really appreciate it here. Look, we've seen an increase in homeless around town. We know that the Padres games are starting here, opening day on Thursday. Yeah, we all are excited about that. So what's the department doing to keep people safe, to make them feel safe as they're heading to these games?
Yeah, what I want everybody to understand and what the expectation is from our staff is you're going to see more police officers around Petco Park, especially opening series. Obviously, the Padres start Thursday afternoon, so you'll see a lot of police in there talking about from homeless to street vending. We will be enforcing the street vendor ordinance, but also just making certain you're going to see a presence of police officers. We want everybody to come and enjoy the Padres. They have a phenomenal team on the field. We want people to feel safe as they come in and as they leave, but also we're asking people if they see something to flag one of us down, to call us, and then we'll address that.
And there's no doubt we've seen a lot of homeless encampments there around Petco, within several blocks of that area. And sometimes it can get a little dangerous if you're stopped at a stoplight. Someone who may not be in the right mental state may be acting erratically. There's been a lot of video that we've seen of, you know, little arguments, fights that happen downtown. How do we reassure families who want to take their kids downtown that this is not going to happen to them? This is something that a gentleman recorded, you know, just a few days ago of someone with a bat and an SUV driver going against each other. These are, you know, scary sights to see.
No, you know, both of our patrol divisions, our neighborhood police division, are dealing with the encampments and the homeless. And yes, it's not a crime to be homeless, but there is a lot of crime being committed by those experiencing homeless. So we're addressing that. We're working with our partners. We're working with our homeless outreach team. We're working with other city services to not only clear the encampments, but create a safer area for everybody. And so that's something that I work on daily, along with all of our officers, along with the other city teams, if you will. And we're working very hard in this area, along with the city, to address the homeless, to address the violence that we're seeing in the encampments. And obviously, we get a lot of complaints not about the violence, but also the open drug use. You know, believe it or not, the prostitution that occurs in this area. So it's something that we're dealing with every single day. We're working with both the city attorney and the district attorney to make certain when we do make those arrests that those people are being held accountable.
I'm curious too, from your department, the encampments, the tents, people have all of their belongings kind of there on the sidewalk. Is that allowed right now? I know the mayor was proposing an idea to clear that overnight.
Well, yeah, technically you're not allowed to encroach on the city right away, if you will. You know, when you talk about blocking a whole sidewalk, and there's areas of the city that we're constantly addressing to do that. I want everybody to understand, when a San Diego police officer contacts somebody who's experiencing homelessness, they're offered services. So we're constantly offering somebody, saying, look, here's a bed, we can take you to it, we can take your belongings. We're working with the other providers to make certain that we can house everybody that wants housing. But again, you know, our job is to clear those sidewalks, along with working with our environmental service division to clear the sidewalks so people can have that safe passage.
Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about the canines. I know that that's been an issue. There's a bill that's out there that would ban the use of canines in California. This has been a useful tool for your department. How are you guys feeling about this?
Yeah, you know, I think it's very short-sighted. You know, I look at, matter of fact, I was just looking again this morning. Over the last 5 years, our canine unit has responded to over 92,000 calls for service, and these are what I would call very violent crime. These are people in distress. These are armed robberies. These are shootings. People with, you know, with warrants. People with firearms. And we've had, of those 92,000 calls, we've had 150 what I would call apprehension bites. That's less than 1%. We talk about de-escalation, and everything that we're trying to do is to reduce the risk to officers, reduce the risk to the suspect, and reduce the risk to the community. And yet this is probably our best de-escalation tool. Again, the community does not want us to get in officer-involved shootings. They don't want us using force. In most cases, a suspect surrendered to a barking dog. No force used. Again, less than 1% of force is used by these dogs. Probably our best de-escalation tool that we have, and the only de-escalation tool that I can recall. And what I mean by that is, we deploy a dog, that handler can recall that dog before that dog goes on a bite. We can't do that with anything else, whether it be pepper spray, a taser, a firearm. We can't recall that. Once we activate that. If we fire our gun or we fire a taser, that round is out.
Yeah.
With a dog, we can recall it. And so my concern is, again, we lose another tool, which is going to lead to higher levels of force from officers. You're going to see officers being hurt, citizens being hurt, and more officer-involved shootings. Absolutely the last thing we want.
All right, good to get your perspective on all of this. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right.